ball, their first uniform, their first number, their first teammate, their first goal, their first coach. We take great care in making sure their first isn't their last. We're so much more than a soccer class. Come play with us today at kickstarttoddlersoccer.com.
Our mission is to help players take their game to the next level and reach their potential. We help players develop fundamental technical skills such as ball control in tight spaces, dribbling at speed and changing direction, using a variety of 1v1 skills, receiving and finishing from different situations such as volleys, headers, one touch, and off the dribble, with and without pressure. In addition, we help players increase their speed of play, dominate with their off-the-ball movement, awareness of space, defenders, and teammates. We offer a variety of services such as one-on-ones, small groups, as well as large groups and team sessions. We have an experienced coaching staff that is professional, friendly, patient, while still holding players to high standards and holding them accountable. Over the past 3 years, we've built one of the best soccer-specific training facilities in the country. We've also developed one of the most detail-oriented training programs to help out players. No matter what level you're at as a player, I'm confident we can help you get better. For more information, visit our website, evolutionperformancetraining.com, or text or call 248-818-3943.
Granite City Food and Brewery has 2 Michigan locations in Troy and Northville. Serves made-from-scratch food, brews in-house beer, and even has brunch every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. To learn more about their daily specials or to book a private party, visit gcfb.com. Make sure you head over to Granite City in Northville at the corner of 7 Mile and Haggerty, or the Troy location at 16 Mile and I-75. Now Worrell has a good cutback from him. He'll fire one, and that's going to go in!
We like to do it before we go out on the weekend.
We do.
We do it every week.
Whether we need to or not.
We did it today.
It was really dirty.
My parents do it every day.
Hey, kiddo!
Do it every day with the Unlimited Club only at Jack's Car Wash. Protect your car from the hot summer sun, dust, dirt, and contaminants all summer long with the Jack's Unlimited Club.
Join today, starting at just $24.99 a month.
I'm a husband. I'm a father.
I'm a sister.
I'm a son. I'm a brother.
I'm a daughter. I'm a sister.
I'm a referee.
I'm a referee.
I am a referee.
I'm a referee.
All right, ready? Okay. Wait, we're just saying action. Wow. And action.
Hi,
We're the Tilly Sisters.
and check out,
We're the Tilly Sisters.
check out our journey on the Michigan Soccer Network.
Okay, you weren't looking up. Hi, we're the Tilly Sisters.
And you can check out our journey on the Michigan Soccer Network.
Do it around the, all right. I'll just go like this. All right. Oh, wait, what are we saying?
Are you looking to grow here in 2023? Let the Michigan Soccer Network help you and your restaurant fill more seats. Help you and your law firm get new clients. Help you and your dental practice find more patients. Find more roofing customers for this upcoming summer. And to help you and your medical practice find new patients. To learn more or get started, visit MichiganSoccerNetwork.com. Don't miss out on any of the exclusive or live broadcasts right here on the Michigan Soccer Network.
Join John and I as we bring you all sorts of content involving soccer throughout the great state of Michigan. Why subscribe to MSN? Subscribe to catch all your local soccer action.
The Michigan Soccer Network, the only place to watch soccer in Michigan.
I watch soccer on the Michigan Soccer Network.
I watch soccer on Michigan Soccer Network.
لا تنسون تتابعونا على Michigan Soccer Network.
I watch soccer on Michigan Soccer Network.
I like to watch soccer on Michigan Soccer Network.
I watch soccer on Michigan Soccer Network.
Me gusta mirar fútbol en Michigan Soccer Network.
I watch soccer on Michigan Soccer Network.
I love watching soccer on the Michigan Soccer Network.
Back to Vitriol. He'll take a shot, and he'll bear it! And then he'll fire it from Billows, and it'll go in! Now Warrell has a good cutback from him. He'll fire one, and that's going to go in! Oh, and both goals so far. He'll fire one, and that's a wonderful save opportunity. That's missed. Oh, it's Stone! And the... He'll fire one now from distance, and that is in! What a strike by Ben Maher! Well, good evening here and happy Monday night. It is MSN Weekly here. We're live in the MSN studios in Shelby Township, Michigan. My name's Jonathan Turner alongside Dan Stickrett and our guest host here tonight, Mr. Todd Heugh. Todd, welcome into our studios for the first time and welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me and thanks for all that you guys do for high school soccer across Michigan.
Well, we appreciate that. Our goal here at the Michigan Soccer Network is to shine a light on a sport that we don't think gets a ton of coverage. But either way, we're excited to have you here, Todd. For those of you who have come here for the first time and are watching us for the first time, all we ask is that you hit that subscribe button somewhere up in this area of your screen, and also maybe hit the bell. That way you're notified every time we go live or add new content or anything along those lines. So, but we do appreciate you stopping by here on this Monday evening as we talk high school soccer here with Todd Heugh. Todd, you're the head coach of the boys and girls soccer team at Troy Athens High School, a school I know very, very well. It's a school that I attended in my younger days, many, many moons ago. You've been at Troy Athens for how many years?
13 years, and I was also there many, many more moons before you.
That is true.
Were even there. So I spent 4 years there as a player. 1986 through 1990, and started coaching there in the fall of 2011.
And in the entire history of Troy Athens High School, do you know how many coaches that have been at that school? Dan?
Just two.
Just two. If you think about that, there's, how many programs across the state of Michigan have only had two coaches?
In 2 years now?
Yeah.
So you started in 1981.
43 years.
43,
yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that to me is really impressive, right? Being able to and not more importantly, like think about the success that Troy Athens has had over the years, right? Two coaches. Tim Stork started the program. As a matter of fact, I had a chance to listen to the Troy School District's podcast about one of the championship teams. I think it was 1989. Is that right?
It was.
And so talking about that team, and during that he was talking about how he was actually offered the Troy High job. But he opted. He's like, no, I'm taking the Troy Athens because he wanted to be able to be a teacher and be a coach at the same school, and that came about through Athens. Interesting story.
Yeah, it was. I was also a part of that podcast and a member of that 89 team. And yeah, Tim was a great influence on me and a great mentor and a fantastic coach. And 30 years for him, 13 years for me. Just two coaches in 43 years.
1989 team was a special team. In fact, my high school career ended by the feat of Troy Athens in district play that year. But I don't hold a grudge, Todd.
I do remember.
Wow.
It was 1-0 in like 18 overtimes. The game that never ended.
So, well, Todd, welcome here to the show. What we want to do is we want to get into the topic tonight, and the topic tonight is coaching high school soccer in 2023. We just mentioned, or Todd mentioned about some of the history, 1989 state championship that he was a part of as a player, and Tim Storks was the coach. But you've been a part of state championships as a coach, both at Rochester and at Troy Athens High School.
So let's go back to your early days of coaching, especially at the high school level. What is the biggest difference from your first days of coaching at high school to now?
That's a really good question. I'd like to think that a lot of it is the same. Kids are kids and players are players and soccer is soccer. But through the years, there has been some different challenges for high school coaches to deal with. One of them being the implementation of the U.S. Soccer Academies, which on the boys' side are now MLS Next. On the girls' side is now the Girls Academy and the ECNL. So now we have players who are, unfortunately, tasked with making a choice of whether or not to play for their high school teams or their club teams. So it's oftentimes that a high school team might not have all of the best players that attend that school playing for their team. There's a handful of kids walking around the halls of that school and not playing for their high school. So that has become an interesting challenge. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, they started seeding the district tournament. So they now use a computer formula to put to ensure that the first and second team, seeded team in the district, are on opposite ends of the bracket, and they would not meet till a district final. So now there's a little bit of gamesmanship with your scheduling to make sure that your formula is in the right place if you're hoping to play for a seed. So some of those things that are happening now within the last 5 to 10 years were definitely not around when I started 20 some years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of that is true, and something we'll talk about here tonight as part of this topic is the U.S. The Academy, Soccer Academy, through U.S. Soccer, talking about how these new rankings, how they play into scheduling, because scheduling is ever more important than it's ever been. But just so everyone, if you're first time here, we've talked about this, but comments. If you have a comment, either for Todd or any one of us here on this show, please make sure you go ahead and put that in the comments section. If you want to call in and ask questions, this is a whole new thing we just started doing. You want to call into the show, you can call 248-617-7715. We'll put you on the air. I mean, there's a lot of risk with that. I don't have a producer who'll be able to screen the calls. It's just right on in the air. We had it happen this past Thursday during one of our morning shows. So it was fun and exciting, and so we'll give it a go. So, but either way, we appreciate you stopping by. We're talking right now about high school soccer here in 2023 and what that looks like. Todd was just talking about, the past and kind of how the differences of how these new things that have come about here over the last 15 or 20 years have really made a big difference in the players and how they have to now make a choice, especially the players who are in that topper echelon of playing, right? I just had this conversation the other day with Steve Bask on our show, the Morning Overlap, and we were talking about 1%, 1%, right? Chances of players playing at the next level, regardless of your skill, and what it's 1%. You could look across the board. There's 90,000 players playing soccer in the state of Michigan right now in this state, and less than 1% of them will go on to play at a very high level after high school. But these players who are part of the U.S. Academy system, they are in that quote unquote. I probably like 4 or 5%. I don't know the exact numbers at the Academy. Maybe you do, Todd, but my guess is that they're in that 5 or 8%, and now they're just giving themselves a better chance to be seen, have a chance to go in and be scouted at these ID camps and these tournaments that these academy teams play in. They give them that chance to play at the next level.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number. I do know that they are showcased quite well. I do know that they do get the opportunity to play in front of many college coaches on their showcases. I do know that they get to play in front of many, sometimes even national team scouts through the academy system, and that's great. There's a path for every player to choose from. The traditionalist in me thinks that kids still got recruited from college when they were playing 9 months for their club team and 3 months for their high school team. I'm a big proponent of educational athletics. I have coached high-level club soccer before. I have taken teams across the country, and it's a great experience for kids. And many of them did go on to play in college, but playing with your friends, playing for your school, playing under the lights, playing in a state tournament game, playing in a big crosstown rivalry game where the entire city is there. Those are just some things that can't be replicated. And I think back to my times as a player, and I could probably remember 3 or 4 things about my high school academic experience, but I could probably remember 50 to 100 about my high school soccer experience. And they were just some of the best times of my life. And I hope that, now that I've got a chance to turn it around and have influence on kids, I want to make sure that their time playing high school soccer is some of the best of their lives.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I couldn't agree with you more. As someone who I had this conversation a lot, and as you know, I was the Birmingham Groves head coach for 5 years, and one of the first questions I asked players when they came into our program, I say, what are your aspirations? Do you have any aspirations playing at the next level? And not that every player could. It was good to ask that question, right? Hey, finding out what they want, because if a player wants to play at the next level, you're going to get more out of a player like that than a player who says, I just want to have some fun here on 5 days a week with the team, right? And I knew based on that, what kind of a team program we might have based on how many kids want to play at the next level. It is assumed that players who are playing in the academy want to play at the next level. I think that's an assumption that you can make from a distance. Might not always be the case in how they act or how they play, but that might be the assumption, right? Right, Dan? I mean, what do you think?
Because it's just a higher route to take.
Higher investment, right? I mean, you would think that as part of like, hey, mom and dad, I want to sit down and let's talk about the academy. I want to play the next level is a conversation that they're having.
I would agree. I would think that most of them do. I just think that as your high school experience goes on too, your social life becomes important, and your homecomings and your proms and your senior spring breaks, and then the desire to play college soccer maybe wanes for a few of those kids as well. But I would imagine that most kids are choosing that avenue because they're interested in exploring college soccer.
But there still is a high amount of kids that are playing high-level club, not academy, and are still shooting for high school that end up playing at various levels of college.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. I think that the reason I asked that question is because, as Todd was saying, you don't have to be fair. If you're a really good player, I'm a firm believer in 2023, it won't take long for someone to find you if you're not in an academy. I think that 25 or 30, to be fair, the academy probably would have been better back in the 80s and the 90s when you were trying to find talent. You couldn't find it, so get them all together to come here. But now all these colleges have their own ID camps. Right. Every one of them has an ID camp. Every club now has an MLS Combine or ID camp of some kind. Where, the Jaguars just held one here like 2 weeks ago. They had like 200 schools show up.
Right, and they've been doing that now.
So what is the sale on the academy? Because if you're, I understand the idea behind the academy because it's designed to be training focused. So for all of you who have not been listening to the academy is not based on playing in competition. It's part of the process, but to be fair, it is all about training at the academy. They want you being trained. Right? So you're going to get great training by going to the academy. And I'm not telling you not to go there. I'm just saying that if the goal is to get to college, to be fair, it's not like you don't have options,
But how do you approach it being a coach in a local high school where, the league you play in and some of the other leagues in the area are still high quality, still a lot of college level kids playing high school. How often do coaches sit down with these kids when they're 8th, 9th, 10th grade and talk about these things? Or is there a lot of influence coming from the club that they never even talk to a high school coach? What's this, or does it kind of vary from?
I think it would vary from situation to situation. I know that there's some influence coming from the club coaches because they think that that's the best player development path for that particular player. And it very well could be, right? Like I don't ever hold it against any of our players who either don't play for us, but more importantly, they maybe choose not to play for us for a couple of years, and then they maybe want to come back and play for us in 11th or 12th grade. It's not. It's the MHSAA also has a dual participation rule, right? Yep. So part of the reason the kids can't play high school is because of the dual participation rule. The other part of it is the academy offers this 10-month program, and it's just not good for a kid's body, their load management. They shouldn't be training, 4 days a week with their high school team, 3 days a week with a club team, and then have to decide what games they're going to play in on the weekend. So it would be really hard for the player to do both. But there's a lot of choices to make in this world, and when you're a kid, you want to play in college, and if you think that that's the best path, the best path for you, then that's the one you should choose. And if you decide to come back and play high school for us, then we will welcome you back with open arms. And if you decide in the middle of your playing career that you've got an opportunity to play for the academy, we will wish you good luck. To each their own. There's no hard feelings on it from most of our ends. I just think it's become a thing, like I said, over the last few years, that we just are all used to it now, right? As high school coaches, it's just part of our.
Because 2012 was the first fall where boys had to start making that choice every summer. Do they want to play their high school and play in a good club team, or do they want to strictly play in an academy? So.
Well, and we had this conversation actually because we covered some of the state cup here this past fall with the girls, and we were up there covering the referees and doing some things for the Michigan Referee Committee, and the part of the conversation is that ever since ECNL and academy, there's been a dip in the level of play at the state tournaments for the youth game, because you're taking all of this talent that's would otherwise be there on that field, and now it's somewhere else, and you're seeing the results of that in less talented players being on the field in those tournaments. And then you're seeing the same kind of thing, not on a wide scale, but I think on some kind of a scale at the high school level, where you're seeing a dip because the players who would otherwise be playing for Troy Athens or Rochester Adams, they're now playing their freshman and sophomore years in these academy programs or all year round club. And now they're stepping in and they're playing. We saw that this year with a number of players from, I think, Rochester Adams. We had players return from the academy, right? We saw it with, Catholic Central had players return from the academy. I don't think you had anyone return from the academy this year.
I believe Richland Gull Lake
did, right?
Couple,
so you have, so you're going to see this kind of like this, you're going to see these dips, right? And these different ups and these valleys of talent coming in and out. And obviously Rochester Adams made their way to a state final this year. So, you could argue that helped them get there, right? So while you said there's no hard feelings to that, but you have players, and this is the battle too, right? You have players who have decided that they are playing for their high school. And now a player comes in as a coach, right, who is clearly better. Let's just put it out there, is probably clearly better than the player who's right there now. As a coach, how do you manage that? Because, if I'm a parent, if I'm a player, I'm like, well, shit, yeah, he's talented. He's more talented than me. I know that. The players aren't dumb. I mean, I knew players who were better than me. That's why I didn't play as a starter for 3 years. There were 3 goalkeepers who were better than me. But if they would just showed up one day out of nowhere, I would have been like peed, because I've been there for 3 years. How do you handle that?
Right. Well, we don't just let them show up out of nowhere, right?
Fair.
But if we know ahead of time that they're coming to a tryout, then they're part of our tryout process, and they're subjected to the same standards as everybody else trying out for our team. And it's likely that when they're being measured on certain metrics, that they're going to rise to the top of that, and they're going to get a spot on our team. At the time, at the same time that you're saying you knew kids in front of you were better, kids also want to be on the best possible team that they can possibly be on, right? And they start the season wanting to go as far as they can possibly go in the state tournament. And if there's a player that goes to their school that they're likely friends with, this is not a stranger coming into their program, it's likely somebody that they've played youth soccer with in 4th and 5th and 6th grade, it's likely a really good friend of theirs. So more often than not, these kids are welcomed back with open arms by the players as well. And they have to be treated and held accountable to the same standards as all the players who have been in the program the whole entire time. And more often than not, when they come back, they love it, or at least in our case.
You're part of a historic program that has won many state championships and been a part of many finalist situations as well. Do you think that same mentality is different at a different school? Where maybe being an Athens Red Hawk comes with an expectation. I was a part of it. I'm sure it's still ingrained. Players, they walk into that school every year, they see those banners. They see those trophies. Do you think it's different at a school that doesn't have that same kind of success with those types of players?
It might be.
Yeah.
I still think that a kid would relish a chance to go and have the opportunity to play with his friends. I do think that our tradition and our success over a long period of time has maybe kept some kids interested in playing high school soccer and finding a club team that they can play at the highest level that they can without missing their high school season. That's not to say that we haven't lost kids to the academy before, but not just at Athens, but at Troy High as well. Soccer's a pretty big deal in the city.
It is. Yep.
And so kids play it when they're little. Our local youth club has done a good job of always promoting the Troy Athens game. It's not uncommon for these kids to be coming to a boys game and a girls game and a playoff every year until it's their turn to finally go there. And they just can't wait to be the next group of kids to end up playing under the lights. So, I know that, academics are pretty important in our district as well. So a lot of kids are realistic that, hey, you know what? I don't think I'll be able to play soccer at Michigan, but I can get into Michigan, or I can get into Michigan State, and I might not be able to play soccer at Michigan State. So I think my soccer goal is to make the varsity team at Troy Athens. And so I think a lot of our kids come to, and we get everything they have because they know that they may not be playing after high school ends because they're going to be pursuing a pretty fine academic career as well.
But you still see pockets, and what I mean by pockets is where some of these academy teams are located. Out here, you have Vardar has a boys' academy, and then the National has a girls' GA, and then Nationals offers a couple showcase boys teams in the fall where kids have to make a choice. And then in the western suburbs, you got the Jaguars, who picked up an academy, I think, 3 years ago, and the Hawks had an academy 1 year on the girls, but now they have a 10-month ECNL team. And then obviously the Michigan Wolves, are in that same vicinity as well. And on the west side of the state, you got Midwest United, which pulls kids from the Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Holland areas. But you go further south, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, St. Joseph, a lot of those kids are still playing with the Kalamazoo Kingdom, which does not have an academy. So they're advantageous where they might pick up more kids that will play high school against an academy, say someone that lived farther east, like in Ann Arbor, because that's on the edge of Detroit area. Lansing, that's kind of hit or miss. You have some kids going out to Grand Rapids, some kids might go down to the Jags or the Wolves, but there's still a lot of high-quality players in the Lansing area that aren't suiting up with academy teams. So you're in a hot pocket where, yeah, you have a lot of very good players in like communities like Troy and Rochester, but you're still losing kids to the academy based on proximity.
We lose more girls because there are more girl options than there are boy options. So I think last count, I think we have 7 kids who will be walking the hallways of our school this spring that won't be playing for us. Some of those kids are Hawks ECNL kids on 10-month teams. Some of those kids are on the Nationals Girls Academy teams, either 05 all the way through 08. But yeah, there's again, I'll go back to, there's just a lot of choices for kids to play in, and you pick your path and hopefully sit down as a family and decide what you think is best for you. And again, I'll stay with high school soccer as the path I promote and support.
Well, it is a good one. Don't go anywhere. We come back from break. We're going to continue this conversation about high school soccer in 2023. You're watching MSN Weekly right here on the Michigan Soccer Network.
Are you looking to grow here in 2023? Let the Michigan Soccer Network help you and your restaurant fill more seats. Help you and your law firm get new clients. Help you and your dental practice find more patients. Find more roofing customers this upcoming summer. and to help you and your medical practice find new patients. To learn more or get started, visit MichiganSoccerNetwork.com.
Their first ball, their first uniform, their first number, their first teammate, their first goal, their first coach. We take great care in making sure their first isn't their last. We're so much more than a soccer class. Come play with us today at KickstartToddlerSoccer.com.
Granite City Food and Brewery has 2 Michigan locations in Troy and Northville. Serves made-from-scratch food, brews in-house beer, and even has brunch every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. To learn more about their daily specials or to book a private party, visit gcfb.com. Make sure you head over to Granite City in Northville at the corner of 7 Mile and Haggerty, or the Troy location at 16 Mile and I-75.
Now Worrell has a good cutback from him. He'll fire one, and that's going to go in!
All right, ready? Okay. Wait, we're just saying action.
Yeah.
And action. Hi, we're the Tilly Sisters.
And check out, nope,
We're the Tilly Sisters.
check out our journey on the Michigan Soccer Network.
Okay, you weren't looking. Hi, we're the Tilly Sisters.
And you can check out our journey on the Michigan Soccer Network.
Do it around the, all right. I'll just go like this. All right. Oh, wait, what are we saying?
Welcome back here into MSN Studios, MSN Weekly. I'm Jonathan Turner, Dan Stickrat, Todd Heugh. We're here on this Monday evening, the first show in February for us on MSN Weekly. Earlier today, Steve and I had a chance to head over to Granite City, had a chance to try some food, do a food review. We'll be having that posted here very shortly. It's Burger Monday at Granite City, so if burgers for $6, that's a pretty good deal. $10. They have a lot of great specials. Head over to Granite City in Troy at 16 and I-75, or Northville at 7 Mile and Haggerty. They've got 2 locations. Also have a Famous Dave's in their restaurant as well. You can only get it to go, though, unfortunately. But either way, great stuff there. Granite City, great partner of ours. And, so good stuff there. We're going to continue this conversation that we're having here about high school soccer in 2023. We mentioned the academy. But little things that have been different here is in regards to playoffs in the state of Michigan. Something that Todd had kind of talked about a little bit here when we were introducing the differences between, then and now. A big one is, in fact, this ranking system that kind of came about here. I think it's been now 5 years?
Yeah, maybe.
I think it's
4, maybe.
4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so been around for only a few years. What it basically is each team is basically rated based off of a number of different factors. And I'm sure Todd could probably give us more insight into the actual factors that go into all the rankings. But, I mean, really the simple answer is that teams you play against who are better than you'll get better scoring than teams that you play against that are not better than you. And toward the end of the season, these rankings make a difference come district time, which is where the playoffs begin for high school soccer. Different than that of football, right? And other sports that, you have to maybe based on wins and get into a playoff. But it helps with seeding. It helps with the first and second. So what they do is they take the first 2 teams, first and second, they put them on opposite sides of the bracket, and the rest of it is figured out from there randomly. Yes. Right? So so let's talk about this ranking system. How has it changed the way that you as a coach schedules games?
It hasn't it hasn't really changed our scheduling because we've traditionally liked to play a really strong schedule. We kind of take a lot of pride in playing the best that we can. So every year it's not uncommon for us to try to get one or two teams from all the major conferences around the area. We're not afraid to travel as well, but it does make for interesting play throughout the season so that you can try to stay in that 1-2 line. The MPR formula, as it's called, is made up. Your formula is made up 50% is your win percentage, and 25% is your opponent's win percentage, and 25% is your opponent's win percentage. So the formula goes out to like 1 million decimal points, but it's on the MHSAA website. It's updated every minute or two. Like anytime a game is played, a score is posted, you can go ahead and you can check out your formula. At the district level, schools are still assigned based on their geography. So they're not spreading out seeds throughout the area. They're putting 7 or 8 schools in a district based on your population and your geography. And so once the districts come out at the beginning of the year and you know where you're playing, you can kind of keep an eye on those standings throughout the year to hope that you'll be in one of those 2 seeds. If you're a 1 seed in a 7-team district, then you're getting a bye. So you're getting an extra game off. And if you're a 1 or a 2 seed, then obviously, barring any upsets, and again, there are a ton of those when you're playing in a geographically stacked, talented district, it assures that 1 and 2 can't meet each other in the first round or can't meet each other in a semifinal, that they can only play in the final. And I would say that it's been good, right? It's been good, and now that it's been around for a few seasons and we had it's evolved. At first, there was no guarantee you got a bye if you were a 1 seed because the bye was one of the random teams. Now you're guaranteed a bye, and hopefully they're moving toward seeding the entire district 1 through 8 or 1 through 7, and then if that works for a few years, maybe we'll get lucky and they'll start thinking about seeding an entire region anyhow. But the formula is equal, and math is math. I'm sure it's not perfect, but it's the same for everyone. So we've been fortunate to have been seeded several times, and we've been, I want to say, unfortunate to not have been seeded sometimes as well because our district is so strong. There was last fall, we had the 3rd highest MPR in the state of Michigan, but Berkeley and Troy had MPRs higher than ours. And so we did not get a 1 or 2 seed, but we would have been a 1 seed in every other district in all of Michigan. So it's been good, but it's been fair. It's a nice improvement in the evolution of our tournament, I think.
Well, being on the panel with the MHSA, have they ever, over the many, many, many years, have they ever talked about trying to break up some of these power districts, or is it something that is mentioned but no real legwork is ever done?
Yeah, so they do change slightly, believe it or not, especially lately with school enrollment. So you're looking at schools who are teetering back and forth between Division I and Division II. I think like Waterford Kettering, for example, went from Division I to Division II this year. So that it throws all the districts out of whack a little bit. The geography of our school, we've been in a district with Rochester schools before. We've been in a district with the Troys, the Bloomfields, the Birminghams, and the Berkeleys of the world, and we've been in with the Utica Fords and the Sterling Heights Stevensons. So they change a little bit. It is, you can't, we're very populated in Southeast Michigan, so there's a lot of schools here. So there's only so many ways the triangles lay out, but they try to get 16 relatively equal districts. They populate a map of Michigan. They throw a bunch of dots on there. You don't know what school is what, and they lay down these like triangular formulas until they populate, and then all the school names come up. So it's not uncommon for them to be relatively similar every year, but they do break them up little bits here and there.
So, this came about obviously many years, 4 or 5 years ago when I was at Groves. I remember going to the district's meetings before there was the MPR, and they would literally take, it would be a 5-minute meeting It was, they put these names in a hat, and then we'd all go up and just pick a name, and for the first person draw, home team, seconds away, right? And that did that whole. It was a crapshoot, right? And the reason why they did this was to, as you said, kind of level the playing field a little bit, right? Especially for the teams who you would find a lot of times what would happen is you see a Troy Athens, right? Two really highly competitive teams, crosstown rivals in the district opener.
Yeah.
And now that team is out. One of the better teams is out, and now you're moving on. And it makes the game, because we were talking about this before we even started this show, is that like looking at the regionals, like that first game regionals, a lot of times can be either a really easy game or a really tough game. And the teams that played before that, now they might have an easier chance to get to a state semifinal and so on. This district, this new NPR system has created a pathway so that, the teams that, should continue down the path kind of have a better chance of doing that. In this current example, right. If they were to seed it differently, like you talk about seeding the whole tournament with the ranking system, that would actually, I think, would make it a lot easier for teams to get through to the next round. Because you said, we talk about the districts is 3 games. If you get a first round bye, you get 2. But, otherwise you get 3 games. So you have to play 3 games. And the way they've changed it as well, which was different, it used to be all 3 games in the same week. Right? It used to be you play on a Monday or Tuesday is your game 1, and then Wednesday or Thursday was game 2, and then Friday or Saturday was game 3, the championship. Now you play a district game on I think if they start like on a Wednesday or Thursday now, right in that first week, you get the
one before the weekend.
One before the weekend, and then
to prepare for the
and then the next one starts the Wednesday and then Saturday. So I mean, you have like 2 weeks of preparation for a district which is completely different.
Right. And more recovery in between games,
100%.
which is nice. Well, I mean, it was not uncommon for us. We had a really good team in 2013, and less than 36 hours went by in between. We kicked off at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night. The game went to overtime before us, so we were really like 8:30 on a Thursday night. Now it's over at 10:30, and then we kick off at noon on a Saturday. And we're supposed to train in between a district semifinal and in a final. So now there's more recovery time in between, which is nice, especially because it's really hard to win a district championship if you're in one of those really competitive districts, because it's 3 tough games.
So something happened, and this is, I want to say, I don't remember the exact year. I'm going to say it was right around 2015. You were involved in something in high school that's never happened before.
16.
It was 16. Never happened before. And to be fair, from the standpoint of the Michigan High School Athletic Association, these types of things, I don't think it's ever happened. Like, I mean, soccer is one thing, never happened, but I think across the board in regards to sports, they don't ever do this. I mean, has it ever happened before?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So there was a penalty shootout in a regional semifinal match, right? Or is it the final?
Regional final.
Regional final, right? And I think it was at Eisenhower.
Dakota.
I'm off. Wow.
You're good. You're the same geography.
Same geography. Dakota. Yeah. Okay, so what's what happened here? Let's talk about it for a second. So a penalty shootout takes place in a regional final. You guys win the shootout, right? Well, what happened during the shootout was the referee took names from both teams, and the referee assumed that because they gave them to him in this order, that was the way that it was supposed to happen. That's not a rule. It's not part of the laws of the game at the high school level or any other level for that matter. And a player was out of order for Dakota, and they issued that player a yellow card. Right, I think they issued him a caution, I
believe so.
Which took them away. They disallowed whatever goal that player took, and then they didn't take it. So they were down a shot. They went on to win, and then something happened in this whole world where out of nowhere they're saying we're retaking the shootout, or at least from that last kick was supposed to take place.
Yeah, in the moment it was very confusing.
Yeah.
As to what was going on. There was a very, very long delay between kicker number 3 and kicker number 4. And because I don't really know if it's that they recorded an order, but because there was an order that was reported, I don't know if they were marking the score down the right way. So anyhow, all 5 kickers ended up going. But the score sheet that the referee had in the scoreboard showed that we scored one more goal, and when he went back and rewatched it, we really didn't. It was really, I think, 3-3 at the end of it, but the game was called. The whistle was blown. We celebrated. We had a trophy ceremony. We had a parents' team party at the Detroit Burger Bar afterwards. And, I remember being excited to be a regional champion. And then on Saturday morning, I was getting ready to go to one of my best childhood friends' wedding. And I think I got a call from John, who was still into officiating at the time, and said, I hope that, congratulations on the win last night. I hope that sticks. I said, what are you talking about? Do you know something I don't know? And within another hour, I had gotten a call that the MHSA had decided that we were going to replay kicks 4 and 5 only. So Dakota came to us on a Tuesday, and they brought a fan bus, and we had a full packed student section, and this thing was going to kick off at 4 o'clock. And at this point, it had become a relatively popular local story. So Channel 4 was there, and Channel 7 was there, and they had filmed the shootout, and the whole thing lasted, 3 minutes maybe. And the winner had to turn around and play the next day against Rochester High in a state semifinal. So it was going to be we just practiced on. We didn't really even practice kicks. We had been practicing them so much. We treated the game as we had already won because we had already had the trophy. So we practiced on Monday to get ready to play for Wednesday, and then what better way to prepare for a high-pressure state semifinal game than be in a high-pressure two-player shootout where these two kids and this one goalkeeper had 72 hours to think about this one shot they were going to take or this one save they were going to have to make. When it's all said and done, I feel for really everybody involved. I feel that bad for the MHSA that had to make the decision. I feel bad for the Dakota kids who had to go through a roller coaster of emotion. They lost, and then they had some hope that they might win, and then they lost again. I was super proud of our kids for the resilience they showed during that time, and the only thing I asked for when we talk about those banners in our gym, I asked for 2016 to be under our regional championships. I asked for it to be up there twice, and our athletic director did. So if you ever walk through the hallways, if you ever walk through the gym at Athens, you'll see 2 16s.
I did notice that.
You'll see 2
that's
16s
actually pretty
up
cool.
on the banner.
I didn't know that. But the reason why I brought that up is because we talk about changes from many years. That's a big moment in high school soccer in the state of Michigan, because it's never. Think about all the games that have been played and where there's a lot of moments of controversy. And this is in the state regional final game. A shootout had taken place. A winner had been called, and they bring it back. And I think you were a part of another game where there was an injunction that was taking place too with the girls' side.
Same year. Same school year. Right, 16,
it was
17
like a Grosse
school
Pointe
year.
South, or you were supposed to play a game, and then they canceled the game.
They had been declared ineligible for the state tournament after winning a district championship because it was found that they had played too many regular season games, but it was found too late, and so we were told that you weren't going to have a regional semifinal game, and congratulations, you've gone through to the regional final. So we practiced that day. We were supposed to play at 8 o'clock that night. Athens was hosting. It was a 6 o'clock regional, 6 and 8. We practiced that day at 3, and then we received an email, you're playing. And we had already had practice, and I had to get a hold of the girls who had already left practice. A couple of them had already gone to Taco Bell after practice, thinking that they had the night off. An injunction was given, and nobody was to stop the game from being played. So we got all the girls back there at 8 o'clock that night. So that was a fun school year.
What was the final of that game?
We did end up winning that game. Yeah. So,
well, there was a couple years ago, I want to say Lance Cruz girls had a really good record, and then the Monday or the Thursday, where the districts started, they were told that they couldn't. They had to withdraw from the tournament because they played 3 more games than the allotment.
Yeah. That's a pretty stiff penalty. You got to be really careful when you're scheduling to make sure that you're designating a scrimmage and a game, and the number of multi-game tournaments that you play. So it's
Can you only play in 2 weekend tournaments? Is that what it is, or?
Yes, in season you can play one,
and then you can play scrimmages. I think you can play 4.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You can play in season and preseason as
total
well.
Total of 4 though, right? I think
Yep.
it's a total of 4 in preseason. So obviously those, but then you have the 2 tournaments. So but those kind of they count as. But the thing is that each scrimmage, I don't think that counts as a competition, a day's competition.
The scrimmage does not.
The tournaments do. So the games on those days do not count for more than just one day of competition.
One day of competition on your schedule of 18. But
so
if you play 3 in a day, they count in your record as results.
Yep.
That's why you'll see some schools with more than 18 total games before they head into the tournament. They've played in some small
30-minute
tournaments.
halves.
Yep.
Yeah, but the 18 days of competition is what the factor is, and that's where they're saying the Gross Point South, you said? Or
North. Gross Point North
was
at the
where
time.
they had that. Yeah, so, well, hey, I mean, we're going to continue this conversation. It's 8:45 here on this Monday evening. You are listening and watching MSN Weekly with Dan Stickrat, John Turner, and Todd Heugh. We'll be back here with some more here on the Michigan Soccer Network.
Our mission is to help players take their game to the next level and reach their potential. We help players develop fundamental technical skills such as ball control in tight spaces, dribbling at speed and changing direction, using a variety of 1v1 skills, receiving and finishing from different situations such as volleys, headers, one touch, and off the dribble, with and without pressure. In addition, we help players increase their speed of play, dominate with their off-the-ball movement, awareness of space, defenders, and teammates. We offer a variety of services such as one-on-ones, small groups, as well as large groups and team sessions. We have an experienced coaching staff that is professional, friendly, patient, while still holding players to high standards and holding them accountable. Over the past 3 years, we've built one of the best soccer-specific training facilities in the country. We've also developed one of the most detail-oriented training programs to help out players. No matter what level you're at as a player, I'm confident we can help you get better. For more information, visit our website, evolutionperformancetraining.com, or text or call 248-818-3943.
Now Worrell has a good cutback from him. He'll fire one, and that's going to go in!
Call or two, or they think they saw something, and then that kid from that team goes into a tackle extra hard, and now his emotion, he gets up pushing and shoving, and so there's sometimes those things can transpire and push themselves into the game, which is not what we want. And of course,
Steve, we have our first phone call.
We got a phone call.
We have a phone call.
Oh, well, well, John, I mean, if we got a phone call, we should probably take the phone call.
So thank you for calling in here to the Overlap Show here with Steve and John. Who we have on the line?
Yeah, this is Jacob Little.
Well, Jacob Little. There.
Oh, he even put his whole name out there. I was expecting John from Detroit just to call and be safe.
He's going to say first time, long time is what he's going to say.
Welcome in, Jacob.
So welcome into the show. Your comments here on parents being better or worse.
I'm a husband. I'm a father.
I'm a sister.
I'm a son. I'm a brother.
I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a referee.
I'm a referee.
I am a referee.
I'm a referee.
To do it before we go out on the weekend.
We do.
We do it every week.
Whether we need to or not. We did it today.
It was really dirty.
My parents do it every day.
Hey, kiddo!
Do it every day with the Unlimited Club only at Jack's Car Wash. Protect your car from the hot summer sun, dust, dirt, and contaminants all summer long with the Jack's Unlimited Club.
Join today, starting at just $24.99 a month.
Welcome back here into MSN Studios here on this Monday evening. John Turner, Dan Sickerett, Todd Heugh. Good conversation. Our topic here tonight is talking, as I hit the wrong button to cut that off real quick. I apologize about that. That itchy trigger finger on the fade. But either way, we're talking here tonight about high school soccer in 2023, how it's changed, and we appreciate y'all kind of coming along for the ride. No comments, so I don't know if you don't like us or what, but we'd appreciate some comments. Any questions you have for any of us in regards to this topic. We talked about the academy. We talked about the NPR. We just talked about the injunction in 2016, how chaotic that was for Todd Heugh. But during the break, he was talking about, I did not know this, that he could have been my JV coach when I was a freshman. I think that's awesome. I didn't even know that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was trying to get a junior varsity. My first year of teaching in 1996, I was trying to get a junior varsity job at Athens High School so I could coach under my my former coach and mentor. I was teaching elementary school at the time, and there was a new business teacher at Athens at the time, and our district athletic director said he thought it would make sense for release times if the new business teacher coached at Athens, and they sent me over to Troy High. So a fun little fact: I did a handful of seasons of coaching JV soccer over at Troy High on the other side of town.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, because John Devine was my head coach for JV. To be fair, we kind of had Troy High's number for those first couple of years that I was there as a goalie on that JV program. But yeah, that's actually really, really cool. I did not know that. So, but before Athens, you were at Rochester High School. We mentioned you had a chance to win a state championship there. Has won one state championship with the boys back in 2019. The girls have not won one since 2000. That's when my sister was on that team back when they beat, I think, Plymouth Salem. No, man, it was Canton. It was Canton. Tiffany Laskowski was Miss Soccer in that year.
She was.
Yeah, and that was back in 2000. But you won it with the boys in 2002, right? Or is it
at Rochester? Yes.
Yeah, 2002. So pretty cool. So we have about 8 minutes to go here before we wrap this thing up. We did talk about, how high school soccer has changed. The one thing we really haven't talked about is really the difference between a player in 2000, like myself for that matter, and a player in 2023. It's a different makeup. We live in a different world, than we did even 5 minutes ago, it seems like, right? When I played, the things that you could do as far as a coach, the levels at which we called it Hell Week at Athens, right? Where we would show up on if I remember correctly, it was like a Thursday, Friday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It was 3 straight days of running, because then you couldn't play the ball then. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was Hell Week, and then you took the weekend off, and you came back on the following Monday, and that's when soccer ball activity started to happen. But those 3 days, I think combined, we ran somewhere in the neighborhood of around 23 miles. Over the course of like 3 days. There was the 3-mile run. There was the 18, it had to do 10.5 laps in 18 minutes or something like that.
It's an 18-minute Cooper's test, a 12-minute Cooper's
step.
A 2-mile run, a 1-mile run. I remember it well.
Oh, yeah.
I actually probably ran my way onto the soccer team my junior year. If I wasn't fit, I don't know if I would have made it. It was a pretty competitive group of kids back at the time. So, thankful for fitness testing probably more than some of the other kids.
Well, but we had, back then, and again, we think about back then, a player throwing up due to being overworked was very common. I almost feel like Tim Storks' goal was to get us to puke, at least someone to puke before we left. Because that first morning, it was always weird too, because that first morning, it was always like, okay, we're going to do the mile run. Mile run was like the first test. And then, okay, get the mile done. Whew, okay. Nope, now we're going to do the half mile. Like, okay. And each test, I almost feel like he did this on purpose just to screw with you. And I'm pretty sure all coaches do this, right? I did it myself too. But to screw with you, because that half mile, you think, oh, that's not that bad. Actually, the half mile is worse than the mile, because you're literally sprinting for 2 laps.
Oh, I know. I ran that in track when I was in high school. We had something similar to Rochester, and those first 3 days are brutal, but you would walk in with 100 kids, and after those first 3 days, 20 kids would cut themselves because they couldn't.
No, because you know what to expect.
Our coach was a former All-American at Oakland University goalkeeper, and he Yeah, you called it Hell Week. He put us through hell, and I was thankful. I look back 30-something years later that I was a track athlete. I ran the 400, 800, 16, and 3200 in high school and in junior high, middle school. So I was in decent shape come soccer season, and I learned I learned as a 10th grader that I need to be even better physical condition coming back as a junior because, making rosters in that area back then, and it's the same nowadays, it's not easy when you live in a community where every other kid is born in a soccer ball.
So it's my first year at Groves back in 2015. I had just been hired. I had not coached in 10 years. I had not coached. The fact they even offered me the job is just, to be fair, is ridiculous because I had not coached in 10 years. I had been around the referee. I had been around the OA. I know the OA very, very well because I've been a part of it as a referee. So I knew it. I know the game of soccer. But anyways, my first tryout, 2015, and I pull out the Tim Storch, let's do some of this Hell Week stuff. I want to give it a go, and we only had 55 kids try out, and the year before that there was not a JV a B team. So for those of you who are just tuning in, a JV B team is the new freshman team. They just made it so that you could have freshmen and sophomores. I think they've opened with COVID. They kind of allowed some juniors to play in there, I think, as well as part of the shakeup. But it's traditionally designed for a freshman and sophomore squad, and then your juniors would play on JV, and then obviously varsity. So we didn't have a JVB team, and I knew that if I wanted the program to be a good, strong program, having 3 teams is the pathway. So when only 55 kids showed up to tryouts, and I ran them like crazy, I knew I had to keep them. So on day 1, I said, "You're all selected." I said, "You're all making a team." Why drag it out? At this point, you're all making a team. And I'll tell you the amount of emails I got from parents like, I cannot believe you're picking teams on the first day. I'm like, well, to be fair, some kids are going to be playing on both teams, and maybe all 3, but that was my first mistake as a head coach in high school soccer. But making them run like I did, they all ran the 3 mile, they all ran the Coopers, they all ran, and no one puked, thank goodness. But you can't do that anymore. You can't run that same Hell Week to the same extent that we went through as players back in 1997.
No,
for you, 1989. Right?
You can't, and you probably shouldn't. I don't need to know if somebody can run 23 miles. I need to know if they can. I need to know if they can play soccer. That being said, we still do fitness testing, and we still have standards. We don't do it before the tryout. We do it during. So when we're playing. When we're evaluating players and we're playing 11v11 on our turf stadium, we might have our younger pool of players playing while our older pool of players is on the track doing their fitness test. We don't nearly run what we used to run, but we do need to have some varsity standards that we'd like our athletes to be at. It gives me not necessarily a good gauge of who's going to make the team or not make the team, but a really good idea of who's been working hard in the off season and who's trying to meet the standards, which are posted, and they know what they are.
I'm on the Athens website right now looking at the standards, and in my year 2, I realized that was not the right way to go. I learned from the error of my ways, and ultimately we did like a 40 by 60 shuttle and gave them 3 opportunities. There was a beep test that they had to do, and on your website it says hey, you actually have a number of tests. You're right. When it comes now, for me, it was like, okay, if you do it during tryouts, you're kind of screwing yourself. So, and anything prior to tryouts can't even be mandatory.
Correct.
Right? It used to, it has to be, it's all voluntary. And granted, as a head coach, you have to understand that anything you say to a player and to a parent is going to automatically assume it's mandatory. So you have to be very, very careful. Hey, no, we're doing these tests to see where you are, so that we can go out into the preseason and be prepared. But you would use it to help me as a barometer, right, to see where your team was at overall. Like based on your beep test of the varsity players, both boys and girls, percentage-wise, how many think a percent on varsity get the beep test to level 13 or level 12 for that matter at that beginning of the season?
Quite a few.
Quite a few?
Yeah.
Yeah. See?
Quite a few. They know what it is ahead of time. Now, that being said, not all.
Yeah.
And it's just 1/5 of your evaluation. So if you're good in the other 4 areas, you can still make the team. And then when we run the beep test mid-season, are probably at that level by then.
For sure.
Well, most schools have some kind of standard in training like this. I mean,
Oh.
I get if you're a small school and you have 65 kids in your high school and you get 16 kids to come out for soccer, you have one team. You may not be able to run them because you got to keep those kids on a roster. You can't you can't go into October with 11 or 12 kids.
Right.
But, you know, larger schools. I mean, what do you average in terms of tryouts every year? I mean, how many kids would you say you average coming out?
So our boys' numbers are still pretty good. I would say over the last 10 years, we're between 90 and 100 kids a year for our boys. Our girls' numbers are lower than that. We're probably, on a bad year, 55. On a good year, 70. We do everything in our power to continue to run 3 teams at each level. It's no problem on the boys' side. On the girls' side, sometimes it requires a little bit of work to get some players to come back out, maybe that have thought about not playing soccer, maybe even get some kids who have never tried soccer before to play on our JVB team. But, you know, all in all, I sound like I'm complaining. A lot of people would love to have 55, 70 girls try out for their program, but I'm looking at running, 3 teams successfully for us, for boys and girls. So the interest is still pretty high for us.
Have you seen a decrease on the girls' side? Because really since 2000, a lot of Class A and B schools around the state have added boys and girls lacrosse in the spring. Have you seen some of those fringe kids go down?
So I attribute it to a couple of different things, to be honest with you. One are the numerous year-round soccer opportunities that girls have. So again, I had mentioned I think we're going to be down 7 kids right now. So you put 7 more kids on our on our varsity roster. That's 7 more kids that are probably on the JV team and 7 more kids that are probably on the JV B team, or maybe some that don't make it. But just spring sports in general, there seem to be a ton of female athletic opportunities. So at our school, we try to run 3 softball teams. We try to run 3 soccer teams. We try to run 2 girls lacrosse teams. We try to run a girls track team. We've got girls tennis in the spring. And even though we're a big school, we're all fighting for the same female athletes. So I think more athletic opportunities for females in the spring has caused our numbers to dip a little bit as well. And then life happens, and being a teenager happens, and kids who like playing soccer in 8th and 9th grade maybe don't like playing it anymore in 10th and 11th grade. So that happens too.
No, it makes sense, and it's true. And in my best year at Groves, I think we had 89 kids try out. That was in year 3, and I think a lot of it comes down to too is in Birmingham there's a choice between going to Seaholm and Groves, and I don't know if there's is it school of choice for the kids in the school? No, it's not. So the line used to be Rochester Road, and everything basically east of that was Athens, and everything west of Rochester's Tri. Is that still the same?
Pretty much.
Okay, so
there's a couple pockets,
subdivisions
but that's
in there.
the dividing line.
So for us, my goal was we had certain middle schools that we could go to. We would send our players to. They get a list, and I called every single kid and their parents. Said, "Hey, we'd love to have you at Groves." And now, does that mean that they all came? No, it didn't. But I just want to make them feel like they were going to come in. I felt like my job between basically now and this tryout time in August was to sell the Grove soccer program to a kid who wanted to go to Seaholm. And because Seaholm, and at that point, was if you looked at the campuses and things like that, was the better campus to be a part of, per se, is if you thought about it from that standpoint. But now the school districts have both, oh my gosh, what they've done at Groves and Seaholm with these, these new stadiums and these new, oh my goodness, I should never have left, because now the locker room is literally right outside the field. Before we had to walk about a half a mile to get to the nearest defibrillator. We always joked that someone got hurt and needed a heart into the defibrillator, someone's gonna have a heart attack on the way to the defibrillator. So you have to send a team. But anyways, it's getting those numbers is very, very important. And obviously having success, right? Success breeds success, and players want to be a part of a successful program. And if you're having a good streak, you look at it, 10 state championships over the course of 40 years. You've been to the state finals 5 times that you didn't win it. You're a state finalist. So been to the finals 15 times. I think there's only another school. I think De La Salle is the only one in Division. Well, they're in Division 2 now. I think they're the only one that has that many wins. I think it was De La Salle was tied with Athens for the most in this.
Like a program like East Kentwood, most of their success came from 2017
in the last
on, so less than 20 years. They won 5 titles with the runner-up. But, historically, I mean, obviously Country Day was Division 2 or 3 or Class B or Class B, C, whatever, because, the divisions and
only changes that they've had over the years.
Changes, they're one of those schools that kind of flip-flops, but anyone else? Hudsonville Unity Christian on the girls' side, they've got quite a tally going. I know
they do.
Madison Heights Bishop Foley used to be a power on the girls' side and boys, but more so on the girls' side.
Yep. Well, then you look at, too, remember, their Losser had some state championships back in the day, but then they became Bloomfield Hills High School, and their women's side, girls' side, just won their first ever state championship as Bloomfield Hills this past spring. So the defending state championships. Our goal is to get, Coach on as well from the Bloomfield Hills High School here. That's the goal, at least in the very near future, to talk about. Because we want to bring, we wanted this new thing with MSN Weekly. We want to do a championship series. We bring on coaches and talk about, hey, what's that like? And we'd like to have you come back during that series and talk about what it's like to be a part of the 2019 team, for example, being a part of a state championship run and what that season, going into that season, because you talk about 2013 was one of your better teams. You guys you didn't make it to past district finals, right?
Correct.
So you would look at talent-wise, maybe one of your better teams that you've coached did not go all the way to the finals, but then you have a team in 2019 that did it exceed expectations beyond your wildest dreams, or was that a team looking at it, that was a team that we think could go that far?
Yeah. They were a team I thought we could go that far.
I love it.
Our 2016 team that got to the finals, we lost to East Kentwood in a penalty shootout. That was a team that far exceeded any expectation that I had. Our girls 2021 team was just in the state finals recently.
Yep.
Runner-up there. That was a team that maybe exceeded some expectations. The year before was the COVID year. I thought we were going to have a really good team that year. We would have had a majority of that 2021 roster plus another 6 seniors, 3 of them who are off playing in college right now and having pretty successful careers. So, you hope for it. You hope for it every year, but when it happens, you certainly enjoy the ride.
I mean, there's been some great teams out there that never won a state championship. You think back historically, like 90-91, Livonia Churchill boys were stacked. I don't think they ever got to a state final, or if they did, they never won. And then 2001, Rochester Adams, I think, had 9 kids in their starting lineup, and up later on went on to play Division I college soccer, and a couple other went to lower divisions that they didn't win. They lost in the state final that year, but there's been a sprinkling of other great teams out there that never won a state championship.
Well, and I was part of the 197 where, going into that season, no one picked Athens to go that far.
No, you were.
And to be fair, in every game that we played in that state playoffs, we were losing in every game. We went down in every game. We had some luck too along the way. Tim Storch somehow found a way. It was weird. Always found a way to kind of make things lucky. It's
there has to be a little bit of luck to win a state championship in sports.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Something has to happen.
Mm-hmm. 3 things.
Yeah,
you got to be healthy, you got to be good, and you got to be lucky. You got to have them all. If you don't have them all, you're not gonna go far. Single elimination in any sport. Does it ever really truly crown the best? I don't know if you can measure it, right? If you're the last team standing at the end, then
well, we called that Rockford game against Catholic Central.
Yeah.
And it was a 1-0 game going in the second half. And I'm drawing a blank on the player that took the shot, but took a shot and it hit off another player. I think it was Boltman. Hit off his back and went into the goal, right? Now, at that point, it's 1-0, and Catholic Central had a way about they're a very, very good team. And a 1-0 game, but you see a ball bounce off like that as a player, that's, you don't know where that ball's going to go. But was it going to go in? I have no idea from the angle we were at. But the way that it bounced and then how it got past the goalkeeper, you as a goalkeeper going, dude, how'd that just go in?
Right.
And that lets the air right out of your out of your sail, and now you're down 2-0. and there's a huge crowd that's there. I mean, you're right. I mean, luck plays a lot. It's a huge factor in all this. We talk about that. You got calls. I mean, you maybe mentioned the fourth part there, which I think, hey, luck. You mentioned luck. That healthy. What was the other one?
Good.
Being good. I think there's a fourth one in there that you got to have some calls go your way.
You
do. The calls have to go your way, and a lot of times you can find yourself. Look back at those championships. Some calls have got to go your way. In our state championship, in the semifinal against De La Salle, a goal was scored with too many players on the field, and there's no replay. There's no whatever. These are all referees from 1997. All still wearing their black kits with the the white collars. And they brought that goal back. And that we win the state semifinal and go on to play Salem in the finals. I mean, that's some luck from the calls to get that right. How many people have the guts to do that back then? So
right.
There's a lot that goes into it, but we're gonna have that conversation here on this network. Just talk with some championship coaches about what that run was like for them, to look back at it a little bit, and have a conversation about that. But that'll do it for this episode of MSN Weekly number 203 here on the network. MSN Weekly Season 2. We will not be back here next week. I am going to be in Florida. I'll be hopefully drinking some, Malibu and some pineapple, maybe, with some umbrellas on the beach someplace, enjoying it. Maybe swimming with some manatees. I hear that's a thing to do in Florida. But either way, I will not be here in this cold studio in Michigan next week. Either will you be, Dan? You'll have the week off, right, as well?
I have some other things going on. So.
But I'm getting out of Dodge for a week. So we will not be back here, but we'll be back on the 20th with Eddie Hudson. Eddie Hudson is the owner of Corktown. Now Hawks Elite, the former Corktown Hawks Elite. Who during he's got 2 daughters playing, soccer overseas. It's pretty cool. Talking about that and what women's soccer is looking like here this summer. After that, we got some other good guests that we'll announce here later this month. That will be joining us here at MSN Weekly. Tomorrow morning, we'll be back here with the Morning Overlap. Steve and I, the 50 greatest football players of all time. Soccer players, of course, right? Who are they? We're going to have that conversation tomorrow here on the network. I think that's tomorrow. If it's not, it's movies. No, tomorrow's movies. I apologize. Movies of all time. Then Thursday is greatest players. So my apologies for getting that. Well, Whoop Thought show was at 9 p.m. No, Danny Garrett. The show is at 8 p.m. every single Monday. You should know the encyclopedia for high school soccer here in the state of Michigan. He knows everything about it, and that's I don't. So
I read into it a
little bit. Todd, man, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Good time.
Reminder, tomorrow morning, this episode will be available on all listening platforms. That's when I'll edit it and get it out there, so you can listen to it anywhere, anytime. If you haven't subscribed to the network, please do so. It's pretty simple. You just got to log in and hit the button at the top of your screen. It says subscribe. Hit the bell. That way you're notified every time we go live or add new content. And our review, that's right, our review of Granite City Food and Brewery coming up here tomorrow, right here on the Michigan Soccer Network. MSN Weekly is out. See you next time, right here on the Michigan Soccer Network.